um,
Sorry.
giving out my insights on training and everything that I've learned till now. So a little bit about myself. Um, I am a Pakistani advocate. I have practiced with UK law firms since 2021 um, in a commercial setup and then in a full-on residential conveyancing setup. I'm more vocal and I'm more confident with residential conveyancing. And that is what I'll be teaching you, the tips and tricks and the specialism that I've basically specialized in is residential conveyancing, and that too, a it's kind of general that I've basically practiced, but I'm trying to get into more exciting subjects such as leasehold flats and all of these kind of areas, Building Safety Act and high rises and all of these kind of things. So tell me about yourself.
So I am mixed. So I come from a Indian and Portuguese background.
Mhm.
I'm studying at the University of Law, and I'm at my second year of my law degree. And I kind of really became interested in real estate through this year, really, because I started doing land law in semester one. And I really
Mhm.
enjoyed the content of land law. A lot of people tend to either like or hate it, but I really enjoyed it. And I've started doing real estate in my second semester now, and it's been an aspect of law I've been quite interested in. And of course, my lecturer is also a real estate solicitor, so having, of course, spoken to her and seeing kind of her insight as well, it's definitely something that I've considered wanting to practice in. And especially more residential like you. I definitely like to go down that route. But yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a good field of law. It's
Mm,
a good area to practice in, but bearing in mind that you would not be a litigator. Because at some point, law students think that, oh, we're going to wear a gown,
mm,
present ourselves in front of a judge, and we'll litigate or
mm,
we'll represent a client. That's not the case here.
mm,
You are still in an area of law where you need to apply your um, your mind and your learning of and your understanding of the law. But it's quite different because this is more of a study or an interpretation of a contract rather than interpretation of a law or of a case study or anything else. You do have checks and balances here, as you would in litigation, but they are very different. So, right, in today's session, what we will be doing is the very initial steps of how to get into what happens when a client instructs you.
mhm,
So we just go from the very start of the process. We not jump deep into conveyancing where I teach you that this is how you need to do redemptions, or this is how you need to basically raise inquiries, or this is how you need to do this or that. It's just basically plain and simple matter and client risk assessments. What do you need to look for? So, right, I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see if we can do that. So, hmm, hmm, hmm.
I can try and make you a host and see if that allows you to share your screen.
Yeah, if you can. Let's see if that's changed something. Right. Hmm. Well, that's odd. Hmm. Oh, there you go. Yes, so there we are. Right. So are you able to see my screen now? Can you see the screen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay then. So let's get on with the first one, which is this one. Let's put this on this mode. Yep, I think it's fine. Yeah. So file opening, risk assessment, client matter risk due diligence form. Every law firm that has a good practice and that doesn't want to be administered or shut down by the SRA or the Councils for Licensed Conveyancers, the CLC, or any other regulated body for that matter, if they don't want to be shut down by them,
Mm,
they would have their due diligence in place. Now, that due diligence is of two things. Number one, the client, and number two, the matter. Because conveyancing or residential or real estate in the UK is a high risk industry. It's it's got high volumes of monies coming in. It's got clients of different nationalities, clients of different backgrounds coming in, uh, wanting to invest their monies into real estate. The most easiest and the most, I'd say, workable or the most um, I just say easiest way to do money laundering or to launder money into the UK is through real estate,
mm,
and it's the most legal way. So it's because it's got a legal loophole. If one person's selling property and the other person's buying it, there's no issue on just the surface of it. But if you look closer and if you go into bit of a depth, you'd see that oh, there's an issue there. Why is this person if why is this person related to the other person, for example?
mhm,
Then you start to ask questions. Start to ask questions. Where is the money coming from? It might be coming from a drug cartel. It might be coming from a trafficking industry, human trafficking industry. It might be coming from so on and so forth sources that you need to check for money laundering. That being said, so the first page, then you need to what you need to do it, this is in the very on the very outset of the case that you need to identify your client and your matter. So that's the best practice that you need to do. So number one, client name, originating partner. So if it's a returning client or if it's a client introduced by a partner, so it would normally be very normal for that partner to identify that client because he's kind of a returning client. He may not be a returning client to the law firm, but they'd still need to do their due diligence and checks. Maybe have a chat with the originating partner that how long have you known this person? How much business has he bought? And then the ID check and everything can be streamlined. But it's not to say that a law firm will not do their enhanced due diligence if it's a person of influence. We'll get to that in a bit. So, client name, originating partner. Now, this is all of the things that you need to fill out as an associate or as a paralegal or as a person working on that file because the SRA will see your name and your signature at the end and say that, oh, this is the person responsible. It would matter that the supervising partner would be equally negligent in not supervising you properly. But it all comes down to yourself that how you perform this due diligence. Right. So the client name, XYZ, originating partner, whoever he is, type of entity. Now this is very important because if it's a company, you need to look at company's house. You need to see if it's a registered entity. if their taxes have been filed up to date, and so on and so forth. And then the LLP, similarly, partnerships, trust, individuals. Now, if it's an individual, you need to see where is he coming from, and what kind of an individual is he? And then is it the government or is it another? Usually, you would see company and individuals, or at some point, you'd see LLPs or trusts coming to you for your conveyance and services. You will never see, or it's very, very odd to see governments instructing high street law firm practices or even city law firm practices to represent them in a acquisition of a property. It is done. I'm not saying it's not done, but in my years of experience, the people or the entities that I've come across are companies, LLPs, partnerships, trusts, and individuals. And that's about it, really. Now, then you say nature of business, that's for a company to identify. So it's, if applicable, company number or equivalent, that's the CRN, company registration number, that you would find on the company's house. Registered address, again, that you'd find on the company's house. Trading address, if different, so sometimes trading address and the other address is quite different. Just give me one moment. Right. So then you go onto the telephone number. If it's a registered telephone number, you'd put it there because you would need to get in touch with the company or the person or any other entity that you're representing. Other parties to the transaction, dispute. Now, other parties could be parties where if you're in a sale transaction, it could be the loan that you're redeeming. Now, do you know the concept of a redemption of a loan? Do you know what that is?
I haven't heard of that.
Okay, I mean I mean just um, so a redemption is basically when you're granted a loan by a person, and when you're selling off that property or when you're selling off that asset, you repay back the loan amount that's left on your loan account, on your mortgage account. So, but regardless of that, we'll get to that. Other parties of the transaction, it could be that someone's loaning money. It could be a third party person who's loaning some amount or gifting some amount, which you need to identify and look for. Because if some party is party to this transaction, even if there's a dispute, such as a divorce proceeding going on, or such as a settlement proceeding going on, where the monies are coming from. So you need to identify that. You need to identify the parties. You need to identify um, their names and their identities as well. It's not necessary that you necessarily have their ID documents, but identification is important and crucial. So accounts carry out conflict check, any adverse findings, yes, no. So it's usually sometimes at law firms, accounts carry out AML checks, conflict checks, sorry. So conflict check is, the concept is you cannot represent the buyer and the seller at the same time. So that's a conflict. So the conflict of interest concept is that if you're representing the seller, you cannot properly represent the buyer. And if you're representing the buyer, you cannot properly represent the seller. So that is the conflict check that you would need to carry out in most of the law firms. Sometimes it's delegated to other departments as well. It's usually you go onto your case management systems such as Leap or Proclaim or Insight, and you type in the client's name, or you type in the last name of the client or the company name. And if it comes up and if it says that we're representing them in a sale and you've been instructed on a purchase transaction, you cannot represent them. Up to now, does that make sense? Any questions? Yeah, perfect. So you can ask me anytime, any questions at any moment. So don't think that you just be interrupting me. You can ask away. So now main contact. So if there are two clients, individuals, husband and wife, who's the main contact? If there's a company, what's their position and what's the name of the contact? Direct telephone dial, direct email, name of secondary contact and position. If that primary person is not available, who's a secondary person? The wife or the sister or the brother or the company's other director, manager, whatever they are, their telephone details, their direct email, and everything else. Now, source of funds. Name of first matter file, that's usually, again, to see for commercial purposes that if this is a returning client, if it has any discounts, if applicable or not, or anything else. Source of funds, it's very crucial and very important. Now, source of funds, what you need to identify is where is the money coming from? So if a property is valued at £150,000 and that person has accumulated £150,000 in 1 year, do you think that you need to carry out some checks?
Yeah, because
Why?
it obviously, like you said about money laundering, it can be very easy for someone to, of course, for example,
Yes,
it's cash.
definitely.
You have to.
Perfect. Yes.
Oh,
So you need to see that any excess of £1,000 coming into the account on a regular basis, you need to check that. Now, it can be the case that sometimes people are self-employed and they are getting wages on a daily basis, like taxi drivers, or they have an investment fund, or they are in the property business, or they are doing XYZ something that shows the influx of cash or monies coming in on a daily basis. This is not to say that you will not carry out your usual checks, which is asking for bank statements to show the money's coming in, asking for pay slips, or if it's an investment, so asking for the investment account details and the statements of that investment account, that monies have gone into that investment account. And monies have basically been there, have sat there, they basically multiplied, and now they've got those investment funds. So all of these details you need to check. Now, the documents that you need to require are bank statements, as I said, wage slips, any other financial documents that you can verify. And you would need to basically report it. Put this in your report, say that, okay, XYZ person is employed, he's getting wages from XYZ company, these monies are coming in these sources on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or on a bi-monthly basis or on a 6-monthly basis. Whatever the case is, you need to list it down. And then you'd say that this has been according to the client, this has been accumulated over a period of X, Y, Z years or months, and and then you would use your own assessment to say that this makes sense. And you would conclude with, I have acquired these documents which show the influx, the monies coming in, the verification of the source of monies that have come in, and I am satisfied with the source of funds. So it would be very detailed in that aspect, that you need to identify where are the monies coming in from. Because the SRA or the CLC, when they audit any file, they would see that does it make sense for monies to come in from this place? Does it make sense for this client to instruct us? It might be that a person, um, for example, he does not own a single property, but he wants to get into the property business, and he's very knowledgeable in that sense. Or, for example, it just doesn't make sense for some reason that for this person to instruct us because he's bankrupt or he doesn't have money, but he's still instructing us. And we ask him, where are you getting the money from? He says that from, sources, but I cannot disclose them. So it doesn't make sense that he instructs us as solicitors, as a solicitor. So you need to verify the source of funds. It's a huge topic within the real estate industry because, as I said, it's very easy for money laundering to occur in real estate. Now, so does this make sense in terms of the legal practice and the risk profile of the client? So the risk profile of the client, what is that? We'll get to that in a bit. Now, the risk profile can be anything that basically um, just states that this client is he's basically a high risk client, such as he can be a PEP, politically exposed person, where the monies coming in are from a source of a government, where you need to identify that why is the government funding this person? He may have an uncle or he may have any person in his family from a position of power within a government. So you need to check, is this again money laundering? Is this government allowing for a window to be opened for money laundering? Now, you just need to look you need to dive into this a bit more to see, does it make sense, number one, for this client to instruct us? Okay, if it does, is this client a high risk client? If no, the monies that are coming in, are they high risk? Are they sourceable? Can they be sourced out? And then you basically put your assessment onto the paper and say that this is my assessment, and then your supervisor would just have a look and say, yes, we can be instructed, or yes, or no, we cannot be instructed because of XYZ reasons. They would just tell you. Now, billing rates, partner, associates, and junior paralegals. Now, this is very different if obviously different law firms have different structures. Some law firms, they give clients to their associates. Some there are partners supervising associates, and some there are junior lawyers or paralegals who basically deal with all of the filing, everything, and they're supervised either by associates or by partners. So you just need to understand what are the billing rates of that law firm. Risk assessment. Now, this is very important. Is there a connection with a higher risk country? Now, there is a higher risk country basically profile of every country there is. So for the UK, it's this website that you would just go to and you'd see if this country falls into that higher risk category. Now, if it does, then you need to do an enhanced due diligence. It's known as EDD, as well. If it's not, then it's a low risk matter, no worries, that's fine. But if the monies are coming from usually a country that's from Asia, such as Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, Bangladesh, um, Sri Lanka, all of these kind of areas where Iran, Iraq, these areas where the population is not up to par with the population and the GDP here. If the GDP is same, such as Qatar, such as USA, such as Canada, such as the European Union, and all of other countries, even in European Union, you've got countries who are high risk in money laundering. You just need to have a look. So, okay, I mean, it's going to end in 10 minutes. Do you want to rejoin then?
Uh, yeah, can do.
Yeah, we can. I think we can. Yeah, let's just rejoin and let's just continue with this then. Okay.